This episode is brought to you by Bumble, who says Valentine's Day is just for couples. Just because you're not in a relationship doesn't mean you can't get out there and live your best love life. That's where Bumble comes in. This February 14th, you can flip the script and give those relationshipers a friendly dose of FOMO. Say no to staying in this Valentine's Day and yes to more. More dates, more first kisses, more gossip for the group chat girlies. Do Valentine's your way. Date now on Bumble.
Do you like to laugh, geek out on music, and learn all about that band or artist who had that one song back in the day, but then seemed to fall off the face of the earth? If so, you need to subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Together with an array of interesting and hilarious guests, we do a weekly dive into one-hit wonders like Eiffel 65's Blue, Krayshawn's Gucci Gucci, EMF's Unbelievable, Delamitri's Roll to Me, Los Del Rio's Macarena, Musical Youth's Pass the Dutchie, and even Patrick Swayze's She's Like the Wind. So are you subscribed to One Hit Thunder or what? As Desiree would say, you gotta be. And as K7 would encourage, you gotta come, baby, come and join in on the fun of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come, come. Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come.
Some girls like to buy new.
All right, Matt, we are talking about arguably one of the most controversial parodies in the Weird Al catalog, and we really thought that there would be nobody who wanted to discuss this song. You texted me and said, I've got someone.
Yeah.
And I said, are they coming to make fun of it with us? And you said, no, they actually really love
At
the
least
song.
not out the gate, they're not. I don't know who's going to convince who here, which is I'm so excited. My friend Levi Wilson is here. Levi,
Hello.
Producer, actor, director, writer, all these things, yes?
Yes, yeah. I like to add, in my Twitter profile, I also like to add middling musician.
Middling
as well.
musician, I was going to say. Yes, also some music in there, without a doubt.
Striving for the middle.
So we'll start with a quick, the Wikipedia factoid about Girls Just Want to Have Lunch. At the time of recording, Al was comfortable releasing Dare to Be Stupid as a 10-track album, exactly how it was. However, Scotti Brothers insisted that he must include a parody of any Cyndi Lauper song. Yankovic complained, but then eventually decided
Complied,
to produce...
I think is probably the word.
I'm sure. Complied. He complained and
He
he
complained and complied.
There's like a double version. Like you can combine those into a single word.
Yeah, there you go.
He complied and produced Girls Just Want to Have Lunch. However, because he was effectively forced to make the parody, Yankovic has cited Girls Just Want to Have Lunch as his least favorite song and ultimately left it off of the Food album compilation because of this.
Oh, wow.
And I gotta say, when I was listening to it today, you can almost hear the annoyance in the vocal track throughout the song.
You know, I listened to it again this morning and I was like, oh, wow, you kind of can, like, with that information in my head now, because I didn't know that previously. And then Matt told me, like, earlier this week, he was like, that's the one that he didn't want to do. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
So, listening to it again, and I definitely was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can practically hear the gun against his temple in that scene.
He's kind of growling a little bit in the verses.
He's never done a vocal like this, I don't think. And I didn't know this about the track either until, funny enough, when I was doing my marathon live stream bass playthrough, someone dropped this in the chat while I was playing the song, and that was how I learned this fact about this track. I think it might have been MC Lars actually who did that in the chat.
I believe that.
I had no idea. But then, once you know that, so for any listeners who are not aware of this, if listening to the way he sings it, because generally speaking, Al really does try to do, he doesn't necessarily, he changes his voice more for some songs than others, but usually he does pretty straight vocal. He doesn't, this is so over the top, and he's a cartoon character singing this song.
This almost feels like, to a certain extent, that Scotti Brothers was like, you need to do a Cyndi Lauper song because we want to release it as a single. And he was like, I am going to make sure that this is the most unmarketable single so that you can't release it.
Yeah,
so that
I dare you to make this a single.
So you have to put out I Want a New Duck instead.
Dare to be marketable.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like, to a certain extent, this feels like a parody of a Weird Al parody. Like if you were watching like Futurama and they were talking about a Weird Al song and they had to make up a fake one for the sake of the show, it would be like Girls Just Want to Have Lunch. Like
I was just going to say, it's almost like self-parody. It's
Yeah.
almost like he's making fun of himself a little bit in this. But also, you know, it's funny when we're going back to his early records and we talked about like how much punk rock energy exists in Al in
100%.
moments throughout his career. Like this song, if you listen to this as him delivering it as a middle finger to his label, giving them what they wanted while also like making it clear that he did not want to do it. It's really, it tracks for me very well that, I don't know.
I think there's a term for it. I think there's a term for it called malicious compliance.
Malicious
where
compliance. That's
you
it.
comply in a way that is the most exacting way that you possibly can. that makes it almost like detrimental, you know?
Exactly.
He should have just
that's
named
what's
the
interesting
track
because, but see, that's what's funny now because this is weird. Like this has gone kind of since I learned that fact a couple years ago about this song. I feel like it's almost spun back around on itself now because the level of malicious compliance in this song makes me like it more. Because when I hear it through that lens now I'm like, oh wow, I love the fact that he like did this in this way. That's got such great, I don't know, something about that vibe attached to the song now. I'm really on board again for.
I agree. Before I sat down to re-listen to it today, I was firmly prepared for this to be at the bottom of my parodies list. And I'm not saying that it's skyrocketing to the top. I'm not putting this above like Yoda here, but I did walk away from it thinking, all right, I kind of think I like this more than at least 2 or 3 other songs that we've come really hard on.
Well, and also,
wait, so that was easy. I've already convinced you guys. Without, we just started,
to be honest,
guys.
I'm so glad that you. I think we said like so glad that you wanted to pick this song because I pitched you. I'm like, this is what we have left.
Right.
To talk about on Dare to Be Stupid. And this was the first song you mentioned. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm so glad to have another perspective on it because, that alone was made me think twice.
Well, I mean, we're talking about like 40 years of me thinking of this song, as just this crazy song. And I watched the movie Girls Just Want to Have Fun as part of the prep for this. And
I think you might be the only one of the three of us.
I thought you were about to say something else that I watched, but we'll get into it because I watched something ridiculous this morning.
Oh, okay. And then, of course, you got to listen to the Cyndi Lauper song as a contrast. And
of course.
like that.
That I did.
And like, well, of course, yeah. And it's interesting because, I listened to the Cyndi Lauper song again this morning. And I was like, the Cyndi Lauper song is pretty ridiculous in its own right.
Yeah.
It's like, it's got the little part where Weird Al does like the armpit farts.
The hand farts.
It.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
We're going to talk about how like on the first record of his or very early on, those hand farts are on like every single song. And then they go by the wayside pretty quickly, but they are back for Girls Just Want to Have Lunch.
Yeah.
With a very impressive performance of the hand farts basically playing a dueling solo with the like digital xylophone, which is also in the original. That is the weirdest choice in Girls Just Want to Have Fun. That the solo section is that bizarre, like super staccato, like that. Like who did like that makes no sense to me.
We have to focus on that a little bit because I'm pretty sure this is in the entire however many year career of Al, this is his only anything with Cyndi Lauper. So, as always, when we know it's the last time that we'll be talking about that artist, we do at some point have to get into our thoughts on Cyndi Lauper as well.
We do.
But continue where you were at, Levi. We're comparing the songs. You heard the hand farts. Also just the chewing in the background.
The chewing
the
and
chewing
stuff
sound effects,
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, just, I almost want to go into what's the word I'm looking for? Like not the social aspect of it, because like the Cyndi Lauper version, obviously, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, but it's really just about like, feminine liberation.
Yes.
I got to go to work, but man, when I'm not at work, this is my time.
Yeah.
Right. And, challenging the authority of the father and the patriarchy and all that stuff. It's in that song. Right.
Yeah.
And then Girls Just Want to Have Lunch. It's so absurd the way he approaches it because in a lot of ways, it almost has a similar tone to it because it's just about women being free to eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At a time when, you couldn't be overweight and, we didn't have that image of like a fat girl was socially ostracized. And here he is making a song, even though it's almost more punk rock in that it's like a fuck you to the label. So I'm going to make this and maliciously as possible. But at the same time, it's like another song where like women can just do the thing that they want to do. Like, is there any woman that we know who just doesn't, who enjoys food? Everyone enjoys food.
Of course, yeah.
I
But
think
from a social level, especially in the 80s, they're kind of, you got to eat salad and stuff. And like, you have like Heroin Chic coming out with like Kate Moss and, you're just coming out of Twiggy, in the 70s. So, the body image stuff is really kind of in there.
That's a really great take on it, Levi, because we were, Al does a lot of food songs, and we have not talked about Fat yet, which is one of obviously his biggest tracks that he himself, I believe, has stopped doing because he was concerned about people taking it the wrong way. Yeah, and that it was too mean. Now.
Yeah, and I will get to that actually sooner rather than later.
Yeah, pretty
We're
soon.
Only about an album and a half away, but I've always considered it a pride of.
Exactly.
It's bragging about how
I feel
proud
like
he
all
is
of these songs, all of these songs have that energy to it, where it's not. He's not. It never felt to me that he was making fun of these people. It was more like. The people who are fat or eating or whatever in these songs always seem very happy to do it, and they're just like living their best life, and they're like, I don't care what you think of me because this is what I'm about.
Well, and this song there's a key lyric in this song that I feel like separates it from being like women always be eating is the line like don't ask them to dinner or breakfast or brunch because girls they just want to have lunch.
They want to have lunch.
Like it's like that like draws that absurd line in the sand specifically. The other line that I think is probably one of the funniest lines in any of his parodies actually is
I know what it is.
She eats like she's got a hole in the neck and I'm the one that always gets stuck with the check.
That is a great line. I was going to say, considering how much like you could make the argument that a lot of this does feel sort of quick and throwaway for him, like that is a really funny lyric.
My God.
That is a great line. Yeah.
It's perfect. It's a
I
perfect
can't not
line.
laugh my ass
No,
off.
it's fantastic. But I just, I love that takeaway because you're right, Levi. I did not think of it through that lens, but it does, the sentiment of the track is actually still kind of unchanged.
And
despite the subject matter being sillier, but it's the same general idea.
And I wonder if that's another reason why he kind of begrudgingly did the song, because all things considered, when you look at a lot of the stuff that Al parodies, he really, I don't think he would actively try to do a funny version of a song that he saw as like a positive thing, like a feminist song, like you said. Like I think that
right.
is a big reason why he probably was like very begrudgingly wanting to do a Cyndi Lauper parody. Is it's like this woman's out here doing something really important, and it would be absurd for me to like
to mock
to make fun of her.
Yeah, it's the same reason why like he would maybe do Like a Virgin, but I don't think he would have touched Like a Prayer. You know what I mean? Like like there is this like fine line in the sand. I decided that I was going to just listen to the song on YouTube, and I typed in "Girls Just Want to Have Lunch," and the top result said "Girls Just Want to Have Lunch" music video, and it was very clear to me that this was a homemade music video because I know that there's not a music video for this. So I said, you know what? Let's watch it.
Great.
So I watched this video. It is a very strange homemade music video filmed by two, looks like teenagers, maybe early 20s guys in drag, just eating a ton of food. For some reason, one of them keeps wearing a leather face mask while in his dress. There is one particularly hilarious shot that I'm so glad is in this music video, because the one is wearing a dress while riding a bicycle, and it's a wide shot because the dress gets caught in the spokes of the bicycle and he fucking eats shit. He goes flying off this bike when it crashes. Highlight of the video, and then for some reason it ends with the guy dressed as Leatherface chasing another guy with an axe, and then it just fades to black, and they have some closing credits, so you can see all the four geniuses that worked on the video, and that's set to the theme of "Dude Looks Like a Lady" by Aerosmith, and that is the only
Jesus Christ.
that is the only known music video for Girls Just Want to Have Lunch. I can't say that I recommend it, but as someone who was doing video editing as a kid, they nailed the lip sync, I must say, which is not easy to do in video editing. And when I was their age and I was in high school taking a video class and we had to make a music video, the teacher was like, I highly recommend that you don't try to lip sync because I will strike off points if the sync is not perfect. So it is in your best interest to really just write a strong narrative for your music video. And a few kids did try, and man, did they fail. It is very hard to nail that lip sync perfectly in a video, but they did. So
I only know one person who can nail a lip sync, which is just my wife.
It's a lot harder
tough.
than it looks. People who are listening, it's a lot harder
man.
than it looks. I mean, if you go back to early music videos, you can really see it because at that point, people had no idea.
Well,
how
then
to
they
do
had
it. Videos from the 80s and early 90s are like, it's a mess.
And it's like part of the art is just like over exaggeration of singing in those videos, so that it's like the same thing as like animating a cartoon character where it's just like, well, as long as the mouth is just like opening and closing, it's like people will just be like, that makes sense, I guess.
Because they don't have that sense of the uncanny valley. It's just like a weird head that's a facsimile of like a person, and then your brain just kind of fills in the gaps. But the second you see a human voice,
It's like,
mouth making sounds, right, and even just a fraction of a second off, you're like, ooh, what's going on here?
Well, also, I think especially when you're like analyzing it and you're like, oh, I'm in a video, so I want to look cool singing this song.
Yeah. Oh,
and then
right.
you are too self-conscious about how your face looks. Like if you're singing in a vocal booth, you are paying no attention to what your face looks like as you're singing the song. And a lot of singers make some insane faces to get the notes out the way that they have to.
Look, I'm going to shamelessly plug something that I created over a year ago now. But I sat down one day and I watched every single music video that aired on the very first day of MTV so that I could make a definitive top 10 list of the 10 strangest videos that aired on that first day. And I don't recommend doing what I did because that's like 127 videos or something you have to watch. But
I'm doing it.
I do recommend checking out my YouTube video over on Geekscape TV because, man, there are
4-hour-long reaction video.
I would say,
there are some really insane ones. Specifically, Robert Palmer had some of the strangest videos I've ever seen.
I love
specifically, a
Robert
song
Palmer.
"Looking for Clues." Is
Looking
a very
for clues. We
such
have
a
a Robert
weird
Palmer
video.
episode is approaching for us. We're going to do Addicted to Spuds.
Yeah,
But,
we'll get into
we
Robert
gotta talk
Palmer.
about Robert Palmer. God, I love that song. Is amazing. In advance of Addicted to Spuds, everyone stop what you're doing, stop this podcast, and listen to "Looking for Clues" by Robert Palmer.
But if you're gonna
so good,
if you're gonna do that, just watch the music video because it is
it's amazing.
it is both the most literal interpretation of that song and also the least literal interpretation of anything I've ever
I
seen.
can't believe you just mentioned that track,
Yeah.
Matt. That is because that's a pretty
Yeah,
obscure song for him.
He's got a mic. He's got a giant telescope looking for clues in the video. There's a scene where he dances on a giant xylophone during the xylophone solo. Like it is a wild song. But
this song with a xylophone solo. What was up with the 80s with xylophone solos?
they love the xylophone, man.
But never a real xylophone. It's like a terrible keyboard sound. I don't get it. We need a xylophone. We need an 80s xylophone expert on the show to talk about what's going on in music that people were so drawn to this.
Maybe they were like, you know what? We're tired of the saxophone solos, but we don't want to go right to the guitar because we have a bunch of guitars.
Yeah. We've already done guitar solos. The saxophone solo thing's a little bit beat. I think the wave of the future is going to be these digital xylophone solos.
Right, digital.
I think
There's
that's where
definitely a little
music's
meeting
headed
there.
now.
Look, just throw out, say anything. Like, there's no bad answers, no bad ideas.
No.
Xylophones. Oh my God.
Done. Promotion.
Seconded.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just like playing around with their Casio keyboard, being like, "What other sound effects are in this?"
Right.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk a little bit about Cyndi Lauper because
Yes.
I love Cyndi Lauper, and specifically the album "She's So Unusual" that Girls Just Want to Have Fun comes off of is honestly a flawless record. It is just 9 perfect songs.
Well, I was going to say, I think that this parody is helped a lot by the fact that this is just a great, great song.
Yeah.
You know, like this is like, I mean, in the world of like, I mean, I would say, I think that Girls Just Want to Have Fun is certainly up there in the world of like really like a flawless pop production.
Yeah.
And a song that has been around for a very long time and you still hear all the time. We've talked a lot. Again, this is funny because this was not Al's choice. Yeah. But generally speaking, Al has an incredible ear for doing parodies of songs that ultimately stood the test of time. And this certainly has. So even when it's like, even all the over the top ridiculous sort of like rolling of the eyes moments in this track are aided by the fact that it's just such a great melody and instrumental. And it's like, I don't know, that goes a long way.
Yeah. And Cyndi Lauper herself is just such a deceivingly great vocalist. Like, I think that if you just listen to this song, you wouldn't realize it, but it's like she even put out a record of all jazz standards that is unbelievable, called Cyndi Lauper At Last, where it's just her doing like At Last by Etta James. She does La Vie en Rose. Like, it's just her and a piano just crushing these jazz standards, and she's got the voice to do it. But in the 80s, she put on the Goonies Are Good Enough voice, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
another interesting thing.
Another amazing song.
Another interesting thing about Girls Just Want to Have Fun, I thought. So Cyndi Lauper is a writer, and she wrote a lot of her own songs, but she did not write this song. This song was written by a guy named Robert Hazard, who, funny enough, there's not a whole lot of information about him. He was in his own band, Robert Hazard and the Heroes, who had no success whatsoever. Basically, this song is the only thing on this guy's resume. Yeah. Which is amazing to me that this guy managed to, like, in a way, I don't know if this is true. This is just the story in my head, but I love the idea of this guy was like toiling away. Like, I just want to make it as a songwriter. I got to get some song out there. He wrote this song, somehow got it to Cyndi Lauper. She recorded it. It's a mega hit. And he was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out, guys.
He just walked away. I love / kind of hate the fact that there are so many like 80s women empowerment anthems that were written by a dude, because I'm pretty sure The Waitresses I Know What Boys Like was also written by one of the male members of the band.
Male members of the band, I think it was, yeah. I will say, and again, to give credit to Cyndi Lauper did write Time After Time.
Which is,
a
superior song. It is a superior song
I think it probably
is,
but it's one of those funny things, like, I actually kind of admire that as well. I like someone who is like a writer, but also... Madonna does this too, like a writer who can write their own song, but then if a great song is presented to them, they're like, well, I'll sing this too. That's like, I just want to record great songs.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of the Van Halen issue where like Sammy Hagar wouldn't sing anything that that David Lee Roth wrote, and David Lee Roth wouldn't sing anything that Sammy wrote. Like,
there's something about that has so little, there's no ego attached to it in a way that I admire. Yeah. I think that's just about like, let's just make a great...
Just about making great art.
Exactly. Yeah. And we'll collaborate with whoever we have to.
Art.
Recognizing great art and then being like, what do we have to do? Let's get whoever we need involved to make this a great thing. There's something about that I do really, really admire. But I just love the idea of this Robert Hazard guy trying and then doing this and then just retiring.
Just living that About a Boy life now.
He's just like in his like, this is my Girls Just Want to Have Fun house.
And this is where I want to have fun house.
And this is where I spend all my time, and I'm just going to enjoy my ducks in the backyard, and that's it. I don't know if any of that's true, but that's how I like to think of it. He died.
So does he want a new duck?
Oh God, yes. Yes.
This episode is brought to you by Bumble, who says Valentine's Day is just for couples. Just because you're not in a relationship doesn't mean you can't get out there and live your best love life. That's where Bumble comes in. This February 14th, you can flip the script and give those relationshipers a friendly dose of FOMO. Say no to staying in this Valentine's Day and yes to more. More dates, more first kisses, more gossip for the group chat girlies. Do Valentine's your way. Date now on Bumble.
We're here to entertain. sing your song.
Hey there, are you obsessed with things that happened before your time? Well, if you are, join me, the host of Before My Time, Kelsey Laurie, to discuss the wonders of the yesteryears that we weren't around to enjoy ourselves. You can find us on all podcast platforms.
Dixieland's a playing, soon you'll be swaying, so come on, sing along.
All right, so we ready to do some rankings here?
All right, Matt. I'm really curious about your ranking on this one because for the listeners, Matt and I were texting about this song. He was really, really adamant that this was not only going to be the bottom, but maybe a long, long time at the bottom.
Yeah. So originally, I was positive this was going to sit at the bottom. I'm actually moving it up 3 slots higher than I intended.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'm putting it between
3 slots. 3 slots.
I'm putting it between Another One Rides the Bus and Stop Dragging My Car Around. I think that that is right in that spot because you're right. There is something charming. There's something charming about the punk rock nature of just going out of your way to make almost an unlistenable song, but also
Well,
just
still
that
getting
whole,
some good lines in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that hole in the neckline is funnier than any lyric that is in "Stop Dragging My Car Around." I want a new duck in the Brady Bunch.
Well, it could also be that since he had that like fuck it attitude, he was just like, well, I'm just gonna do the craziest, like, you know, it gave him a sense of like, I don't have to worry about how I'm writing this or what I'm writing. You know?
Exactly.
So, you know, gave him the freedom to just like throw out the most amazing lines.
But I also think that I think it's a good home right there next to Another One Rides the Bus because I think they both have a very similar obnoxious vocal delivery.
You know what? I had forgotten about that. You're right. He does sing Another One Rides the Bus in a similar way to this. But that was live on Dr. Demento when he was a child. Yeah. So we could,
like 17 or something.
Basically,
like that.
Yeah.
And he had the accordion with him. It was pretty much just accordion.
Exactly.
And John just banging on a random table. I think I don't even think it was the
suitcase. I think he's hitting a suitcase behind it. Like, oh yeah, the accordion case is what he's hitting.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Well, it's gonna be so hilarious if now I put it lower than you did.
Weird Al's a hard thing to rank because, like, I feel like on some level, like, I love every song equally. You know what I mean? And because they're all, I don't know. There's just something about like what he does and how much love he puts into every song, and the fact that almost every song is out there in pop culture on some level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like he's just picking out some obscure song from some B-side from like New Order or something like that no one's heard before except for like, deep dive fans. It's like he's doing songs that are like that everyone will recognize and everyone agrees to some extent is like a good song or a listenable song. And then any leftovers he's throwing on a polka, like it's just...
Well, I can't speak for both of us, but I know for me, I think I have more trouble ranking the parodies than I do the originals because there's so much extra attachment and history to the parodies. Yeah. Whereas I can go into the originals and just as a lover of music, just say definitively like, this is good or this is bad. And these are the reasons why.
Well, because we can't look at it in a total vacuum, right? Like you have to consider the original song and you have to consider what's better. Like it's both the quality of the song he chose to parody and the work he did in changing it are all a factor.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to derail you, Matt, because I know you're ranking.
No, he's stalling. He's stalling.
Please derail while I consider.
Now I'm curious what the number one or like what a ranking like. Okay, so and I don't know if you've done this song yet, but what's your number one of his originals?
So at this time, ours syncs up pretty much for our top two as Dare to Be Stupid and Nature Trail to Hell are our top twos at this point in Dare to Be Stupid release. Now there is
in Dare to Be Stupid. Okay.
There's like 10 other albums that we have to work our way through to like have that definitive final list. I know that I have gone on the record prior to us doing this podcast that I think his best original song is Everything You Know Is Wrong off of Bad Hair Day. But again, I never would have thought that Like a Surgeon would be in my top 3, for parodies. Like this show has really made me see a lot of songs in different lenses. So,
and because we're looking at them all in chronological order, it's changing the dynamic. Like we're not just picking our favorites and talking about them in a random order that we've chosen. We're going chronologically, which is definitely.
Which again is for a little bit of a wizard behind the curtain for the listeners. There was this long discussion between Matt and myself where it was like, if we have a really good guest who wants to talk about a song from a later album, do we make an exception? And I'm kind of glad that we ultimately decided no, because I think having to hit each one of these songs in the order that they are presented to the listener throughout this entire career really is allowing us an amazing way to track the growth, that you just see.
As an artist.
Over 3 years and 3 albums, the growth is unbelievable from him as a musician already.
Yeah, it really is.
It's funny because so from Dare to Be Stupid, I would say One More Minute.
That's
one more minute
would be my top. Yeah. And then for his entire milieu, I would put Albuquerque up there.
I mean, Albuquerque's. There's no way that's not in both of our top 10s. I feel we're probably not, because we're moving chronologically. I don't think we're recording. We're not recording Albuquerque for conservatively 1 to 2 years. And we already have the number of people who have already asked to talk about Albuquerque.
Oh, I'm sure.
It might be an Albuquerque month. We've talked about having to literally do that song in individual sections with different guests for each section of the song.
It's a half hour long.
I would say the song is so long and it's so dense to get through. Even if we're only talking about the story of Albuquerque, that's a saga of itself.
We legitimately may. I'll have to, as we get closer to Running with Scissors. When we get closer to that, I'm gonna have to sit down and really break that song into the individual pieces that it is, and then reach out to every one of the guests to be like, the only way we can do Albuquerque is like this.
Yeah.
Do you have any opinions?
But Albuquerque that's a very, very special track. There's no getting around that. There's no getting around that.
Well, if you had me back to do the part to do the Giant Ball of Rubber Bands, I'll talk about that one.
There you go. This is it. This is perfect. We're adding you to the list. Okay, I am finally ready to do this, and the real thing that's been tripping me up here is Brady Bunch. I am putting this below Brady Bunch and above Stop Dragging My Car Around. And I'm not. That was a very, very difficult decision for me. So I hope everyone feels really bad for me that I just had to do that.
And everybody knows my opinion on Brady Bunch, so we don't.
That's Matt's least favorite Al parody, at least as of this moment. Brady Bunch.
At this moment, now Levi, you don't get left out in the rain on the rankings here.
Yeah.
So you get to go. We have all of the guest rankings of every episode someone has guested on, and they have been able to do 2 things. You get to A, place this song wherever you think it should be on these rankings, and then B, if you think that there is an egregious mistake, you can rearrange one song on the chart.
And I love that we're going to do this because you tipped your hand a little bit just a minute ago in a wonderful way.
In a wonderful way.
I kind of want to put it above Nature Trail to Hell. I feel like I like this song more than other people do.
That's totally fair. No, this is what I love about the guest rankings. That's great.
Look, so I just like whenever a guest doesn't put their thing straight to the top, that there's a humbleness.
Yeah, last week John put Slime Creatures right at the bottom, even though it was his pick, and I was like, I gotta respect that. I really respect that level of honesty.
Now, is there any?
He's the kind of guy who hate watches cats.
Yeah,
exactly.
Hey, I don't blame him. That is a trashy masterpiece. Is there anything?
I've seen it 11 times.
Is there anything you want to move around on that list that you think is too low or too high for its own good?
I feel like Slime Creatures should be higher.
Yeah, raise Slime Creatures. I love it.
I would like Slime Creatures to be right below Eat It.
Ooh, I think that is a good spot.
I enjoy that too.
It's not better than Eat It. Right?
Yeah. But it's great.
I just feel, but as like a sci-fi guy, it's like I can't not, tip my hat to it a little bit.
I agree.
The only thing I don't like is I am very upset for I Lost on Jeopardy to be so low on this list. But otherwise...
I kind of agree, but I don't know where else to put it.
Yeah. No, valid.
The list itself is too solid.
I feel very confident we're going to get a guest on this show at some point who's going to just move that back up towards the top again.
Bump
That song is very is beloved by so many.
Well, Levi, before we completely sign off, is there anything you want to promote? Tell people where they can check out the stuff that you're working on or anything else.
We just finished a short film that's called Luke and Emma and a gas station on Franklin Avenue, and it's a semi-autobiographical tale that takes place in 1986 in a small town in the Midwest. And we are currently putting together the post-production crowdfunding campaign on Seed and Spark. So, if you guys want to look it up, and I don't think that the campaign's going to be popping up for a couple more weeks anyway. So maybe there's a little bit of time, and we can make it like a 6-week campaign. And then once this pops up, we can do the last minute hustle of just like, hey, we just need this much money to greenlight this whole thing. But head to Seed and Spark and look that up. And, it's a project that's near and dear to my heart that I made as a proof of concept to hopefully make into a feature film. So, we got a lot of great people working on it. I found a lot of new, very young, talented 2 11-year-olds who play a version of myself and another girl from my hometown, which is that they're so amazing. They're beautiful kids. Oh, and I just wanted to mention, because the only reason I'm on this is because I tweeted about Dare to Be Stupid,
yes,
or on Facebook or whatever. That was the first album that I bought when I was 10 or 11 years old, and one of my dream outcomes for this, not outcomes, but just in general, what I would love to have in the feature film is I do want to put a lot of 80s songs. And one of the first things that I wanted to put in there was definitely a Weird Al song. And that would be incredible. But, that's going to take a lot of footwork, man.
Yeah, listen.
Well, you're in the right place to try to make that happen.
You're talking to two guys who, low key, when starting this podcast, was like, do you think that we could one day meet Weird Al? Because
we can get him on this to talk about some song. Maybe Al wants to talk about Albuquerque.
Yeah, maybe. Oh my God.
Yeah. We gotta bump everyone.
Exactly.
I would literally love to have Al come on and just have to answer for our lowest ranking songs. Be like, can you explain?
It's some sort of torture.
Yeah, it's
Al's
look,
come on and be like, so tell me exactly what you hate so much about Brady Bunch, Matt. A song I worked very hard on.
No, the answer is no, he didn't, because half the lyrics are just the already written words to the Brady Bunch theme.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you're going to say to him. That's what you're going to say to him. Why didn't you work harder on that one?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's my question.
What were you doing?
Mr. Yankovic, when we talked about I Want a New Duck, we read some fact that you were studying up on ducks for weeks. What happened to all that information?
You spent weeks studying about ducks and only landed on saying they have webbed feet. That is not impressive.
It sounds like we hate Weird Al Yankovic when they listen to our interview.
Al, please come on our show. We are huge fans. Please come on our show. Please license your song to Levi's movie.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Please.
Yes.
I'm sure as a man who loves taking what you expect and twisting on its head, doing an interview that's only about his biggest faults as a musician is something he would love so much.
Exactly.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.